Welcome back to Norrath. So we are starting off today's episode in the high elven capital city of felwithe, and that is because I've been doing a little work down there below that I want to show you before we head off into the greater Trydar and eventually end up in the dwarven city of Kaladim. So without delay, let us go down here and take a look at it. What I have been doing is continuing to build up some of the buildings in felwithe, of course, since we have the main bones of the city laid out over here with all the little buildings, houses, and shops I need to construct. As you can see down here, I have started with, I pretty much laid out the streets, and then I came in and laid out the basic frames of the houses, and over here I have continued to develop those over here by adding a second story to most of them. I think pretty much all of them will be having a second story, and you can see the bones of this laid out here in the smooth sandstone texture. And inside we can see that I have begun to put in the glass floors that are going to be in here as well, with the glowstone below those to help light everything up, because we can't have the high elven city be very dark. And I have, I think I'm going to focus on the middle section of felwithe here to start with, and sort of like work my way out into the other districts as we go along. This is one of the smaller districts, so I wanted to sort of perfect the design styles that I want to use and get those established before I did too much on those. But as you can see, we do have a building frame here. This one's going to go up 3 stories in some sections. However, over here we have a more completed house, which has the roof sitting on top of it. Of course, our familiar high elven roof designs, and there's another one over here beside it also, flanking this gateway. And if I go up a little further, we can see that the roof will actually tie into the walls over here as well at that point. And the roofs sort of touch each other here in the middle slightly and extend over here to this sort of a green park area that you can take a rest in and eat your lunch underneath the enchanted elven tree. But let's take a look briefly inside the building. We don't want to spend too much time in felwithe today. So we have our paper lanterns hanging down. I think for felwithe they're going to be a mix of blue and purple, whereas in Erudin I believe they are all red. Have some stairs over here which take us up to the second floor, which I am working on. I'm also thinking about trying out some glazed terracotta in here, as you can see as well. It's kind of like this pattern. I don't know if I want to make them more randomized though, and not as regular. I'm still working on that. And of course, there's a small balcony here also on the exterior, and there's also another small balcony over here. In this building, we're going to be adding as well, and I think this will be sort of a small shop over here for adventuring supplies and whatnot. But that is pretty much brings you up to date on what I've been doing in felwithe. So let us actually leave the city and head out into the greater Trydar, because what I want to show you today is the main focus of the episode is going to be Kaladim, so we should begin heading in that direction. And with that said, before we get over there, I'm going to show you a brief montage of where we are currently on the map and where we will be ending up today. Alright, I hope that helps you get your bearings of where we are at. So we are leaving felwithe and we are heading off into the greater Trydar, possibly my favorite zone in the game. I always want to use any excuse I can to come into the Greater Trydar. And if we follow the lanterns along here, there's something I want to show you. Just a slight detour. Over here we can see the large wizard spire, which is not where we're going. But if we follow the road around here, we will notice that it does terminate in a large tree here, which is sort of in the way. But I have used this as a lemons to lemonade moment. And as you can see, I have cut a small pathway into the base of the trunk of the tree over here, so you can sort of walk through it. A happy accident, I think, but just something I wanted to quickly show you. But if we return to our pathway over here, we want to go down this road and over this bridge here. And as you can see, there are some new streetlight designs here, which means we have entered the territory of the Wood Elves. We are leaving the land of the High Elves over here, and we are now entering the realm of the Wood Elves, as denoted by the warmer hues and the more organic shape for their streetlights. Of course, these lights are all the exact same design. I've just copied and pasted them all, but I have rotated them every time I have put them in. So it's not really apparent that they are the same design unless you already know that. But if we follow along the pathway here with the various patches of light and shadow, we will be making our way to the Druid Rings in the Greater Trydar. And there's something I want to show you over here as well, so I'll speed up a little bit. And as we get over here, we have followed our lamps all the way from felwithe, and we have now entered what is going to be the Wood Elven city of Kelothan, high up in the tree branches around here. The spot I have chosen for that's why the Druid Rings are here. And with that in mind, I want to briefly show you what the design for the city is going to be, because over here we will notice there is something hanging from the tree. And upon closer inspection, it appears to be a giant acorn, but it has a door on it and a small place to land in, which means that this is going to be a Wood Elven house design. What I have chosen for that. And we have a small window in the house. Let's actually land and go inside and take a look. So in here, as you can see, we have another glass floor, but below that we have some honey blocks. I've actually recolored my slime blocks, but they're supposed to be honey blocks in theory. And you're supposed to imagine that these are sort of like a tree sap collected in the base of the acorn here. First, we have our comfortable bed, our lights here, and our crafting bench, and our chest, a little chair to sit in here. A nice little pleasant place. Also, I quite like the ceiling design I went with in here. We have some internal leaf blocks up there as well. It's quite a nice place in here, I think. But this is the smallest acorn design, which means that the city itself is going to be made up of many acorns that will be suspended from the tree branches around here. And they will all have to be connected somehow, because as you will notice, I mean, the acorn is just hanging here. And that is because I haven't quite worked out a way to get up here yet. What I am thinking that we will probably end up doing is making some more teleport pads below there to access the various levels of the city. But that is enough about Kelothan. Let us land down here in the Druid Ring itself, because we need to find the button which will take us to the Butcher Block Mountain. Sure. Not over there. Is it going to be the last one I'll look at? No, here it is. So we want to use this here. And with that done, we have successfully teleported to the Butcher Block Mountains, which is in deep in the heart of the realm of the Dwarves, which we can immediately see because we have a Dwarven architecturally designed tower over here greeting us as well. So I don't think I have connected the road around here just yet. I believe we are close by it. Yeah, there it is. But if we go up a little bit, we will see that we have the Dwarven watchtower over here. I put this on my Instagram, I think a couple of months ago. You may have seen it there. But over there in the distance, that is the Dwarven capital city of Kaladim. Now, as you would expect, most of the Dwarven city is much like an iceberg. It is below ground, and we just have a few things on the surface to sort of guard the entrance. And as we get a little bit closer, we have a small stream flowing through the Butcher Block Mountains, and there's a small lake and a bridge here in front of the entrance to the city itself. Now, of course, Dwarven architecture, as you can see, is very high contrast to the city of Felwithe of the High Elves that we started in, and even the Wood Elves, because it is a sort of a dark and stout and severe type of architecture, because, I mean, those are characteristics of the dwarves themselves. So I think the characteristics of the civilization should be reflected in the architecture that they have. And with that in mind, everything is very, of course, severe in angle here. They don't have any graceful arches. They have these arches here. This is a characteristic element of Dwarven architecture that I have gone with. And of course, they have bedrock and obsidian and red nether brick and just some hints of gold here and there with the gold ore and the glowstone to sort of give them an air of toughness to them, because if your entire city is made out of bedrock and obsidian, it is of course extremely tough, much like the dwarves themselves. So if we actually land here and we start taking a look into the city proper, we can see that I have pretty much just begun to lay out the city. All I have really done is put in some walkways like this, but mostly the walls and the towers. And we will be going underground fairly shortly, but I want to, of course, start on the surface, and I am working on clearing the landscape back to the walls over there. Of course, we need some smaller buildings in here as well. Of course, we need a large Dwarven ale tavern for travelers to go to, and there is also the docks over here as well. And at some point there are going to be ships in the harbor here which will connect to the city of Freeport, which is roughly over in that direction, a few thousand blocks away. So you can also see out here some of the designs I have used for the bits and pieces to make the underground sections. One advantage to making underground cities is you don't have to make exteriors for them, you can just make interiors. And with that in mind, I will actually tuck down here and show you an interior briefly. And this is a Dwarven hallway design meant to link up various rooms. The entrances of those would be over here. We're going to be seeing lots of those, so I won't spend too much time on that. But let me just sort of give you a bird's eye overview of the city that we have here so far. Now, this is going to be the docks area, so there are no actual docks installed. But since the dwarves aren't really known for their seafaring ability, the port here is rather small. And it's mainly used by people that will pull ships in here to trade with them, mostly from Freeport and some from Quenos. But over here, as you can see, we have various sort of collisions and recombinations of tower designs. I started with this small tower over here, and then I started making larger and more complicated versions of those, as you see around here, to sort of it's sort of how I build, because I will build smaller bits and pieces, and then I will recombine them and sort of smush them all together to make a larger and larger components, and I will subtly vary elements of these things here to get new designs of towers. But they are, as I've said, combinations of things I have already built, so that makes it very easy to have the entire city looks like that it shares the same design language, which is very important to make sure everything looks like a unified whole. Now, as you can see, the above ground city of Kaladim is of course quite small, but this is deceiving because, as you know, there are dwarves. They do like to burrow into their mountains and deep below the ground, and that is where we are going to be going next. As you may have noticed here, we have a large entranceway facing here and a hallway that penetrates deep into the mountains. So we are going to go in here and explore some of the dwarven city of Kaladim. And let's actually go in a room over here. We have various room designs I'm working on. I have to finish that wall on the back there. But as you can tell in here, the same arch design at the severe angles are done in here to form the ceilings and the walls. And if I go to this other room over here, I think this one is a little bit smaller. So you can see that there are various sizes of rooms and various models of rooms also. And I quite like how all the materials in here work. They work very well together, the color palette with the bedrock and the obsidian and the red and the gold. It's very characteristic of what I would think Dwarven style would be. And of course this is going to be sort of the Mines of Moria and Erebor, you could say, the Lonely Mountain, from the Lord of the Rings series, but my version of it. And I think we want to actually continue back here. I think. Maybe I'm already turned around. Yes. We did want to go back this way because we want to explore as much of the city as I can in the available time for the episode. And I will go into spectator mode a bit later so we can take a look at it from the outside so you can get a real sense of just how big the underground sections of Kaladim are. And of course, most of these rooms do already have rooms behind them here, as you see there, but they don't have anything in them. It's going to be a long-term project to fill out the city. And if we go down this way, we have some stairs here, which start taking us down deep below the ground, and we have various options that we could go further down this way, but I believe we actually want to go down this way here. And I think down over this way and then hang a left. Keep going a bit farther down. Let's take a look in one of these rooms as we continue on our way down. And I need to find one of the other room models. Yes, here's a different room model that I have constructed. It has a bit of a different ceiling, but it shares the same design, of course, as the other rooms. And if we go down this way here, down again, we are headed towards something very important. It's going to be worth the wait as soon as I find my way down there. I've already built quite a lot of Kaladim, but it is a bit of a maze down here. I don't exactly remember the way all the time, but this should be final stair here. Yes, this is a very long stair, so this is it. So, as you can see, we have an extremely large dwarven pillared hall here. Exactly what you would be expecting for the grand center of the dwarven capital. And it is very dark, so we're actually going to have a potion. And I believe this will shed quite a lot of light on the matter, so you can see the entire design. Of course, it's a bit of a challenge to hide enough lighting down here to make a difference. I have tried to put as much of it in the floor down here as possible with all the glowstone. But because of the limitations of the Minecraft lighting engine and everything, we have to make some concessions. Here are the walls over there. We're actually near a corner. But if we go, I think let's stand right here. And we can see some interesting optical effects, I think. We can see the hall going off in that direction down there to the other end, but if we go over here, we can sort of see a diagonal going off in that direction as well. It's a really cool effect, I think. Let's take a closer look at some of the columns here. As you can see, they are made of quite tough bedrock for the most part, and their capitals are mostly the same as their bases. But over here, they don't really have an entablature. They go straight up into the arches that support the roof sections up here. And the roof sections, they're modules. They've got some hidden lighting up here, but they are very three-dimensional, which you may not catch from looking below here. But I went through quite a few designs before I settled on this one, constantly rebuilding and refining these. And that will give us the end product here. There are two designs of halls. There is a smaller pillared hallway, which I will show you in a moment. But this is the largest one down here. And it is quite expansive. As big as I could reasonably fit down in here, actually. But let us now turn on Spectator mode and get a view of what's going on here from outside of the walls. So as you can see here, this is the pillared hallway we were just in, and there are various small chambers out here as well. There is small connecting corridors which go into smaller hallways. I believe this is going to be the Paladin Guild. Back here is what I intend for this hallway. This is the smaller pillared hallway that I made reference to. It's got a bit of a different design for its columns and its ceiling, but it is sort of a smaller and more simplified version of the large hallway we just came out of. And if I fly around here, we can see that there are various hallways over here with automatic doorways, and they're going to have rooms on the other side of those. There's even more hallways here, and around the back over here, and even over here as well. And as you can see below here, this is all sitting beneath the Butcher Block Mountains, which you can see above here, and the above ground section of Kaladim, which we came through to get down here. And over here you can see the maze and tangle of twisted corridors and rooms and stairways that we use to get down to the hallway. I'm trying to give you a good view of all of these. I get lost in these myself. Actually, there is going to be a smaller exit back here, by the way, sort of a rear exit for the city for this corridor. And this that's Dagnor's Cauldron back over there, and the State of Unrest is to the south of Kaladim, by the way, which we have previously visited. But as you can see, we have lots of levels of rooms and corridors and just everything stretching off in all directions all around the city down here. And I haven't even put in all of it. I've just put in the main hallways. As you see down here, there are some small completed corridors and rooms coming off of those connections, and there are some small ones over here as well. But this is just the first pass that I have been doing for Kaladim. We can see the ocean floor below here, so the city does stretch out under the sea just a little bit. But I believe that brings you up to speed on everything I have been doing to establish the city of Kaladim. Now don't be too impressed by the scale of everything, because remember, I build with MC Edit, and a lot of this is just copy and paste work. So it makes it very easy for me to build large things like this. The real work was designing all the bits and pieces, as you see around here, to be recombined into more and larger structures. However, this is also all the time we have for today. It's sort of a cursory first look at the city of Kaladim. As with all the other cities, as you can tell, we will be adding more and finer details as we go along. But do let me know what you think of the city in the comments, and thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.